that are always kind of waiting to be addressed, maybe because there's never really time or energy really to think about some other things or do other things. And at that time, actually, Yelena was pregnant with our second child, so it was a perfect time for me to be at home. But going through the injuries and trying to kind of bounce back and find that motivation again. I don't know. For me, I would like to hear from you, because for me it was never really a problem to be motivated. But I actually, I must say that I probably thought that I will deal mentally and emotionally better with the competition once I'm back from injury than it actually was. I felt like I was very confident in myself. I was like, well, I'm fine. I'm gonna practice for whatever weeks, and I'm gonna be okay. It's nothing that I'm not familiar with, right? But once I stepped on the court, it took me probably about 4 or 5 months to really start playing the way I wanted to play. So how it was for you when you came back first from like a long absence from the tour?
Yeah, I mean, I had two injuries. One was my back in 2013, where I had the operation, and I was out kind of 3 or 4 months. And then obviously the hit has kind of been the last couple of years on and off. And yeah, I think like you say, it's the psychological side of it is is the toughest part in many ways to come back from. Like being away from the competition for a long period of time, you lose something a little bit. You lose a little bit of an edge that you need to. I feel like you need to kind of work to get back, and I don't know. You lose a little bit of your aura or whatever, like because maybe people see you coming back from an injury. There's a sign of weakness there, so you need to kind of build that back up again by winning matches and stuff. But yeah, it's
true
that the psychological aspect I think is kind of sometimes harder than the physical aspect coming back from injuries for sure. Yeah, look, I mean, we've got about an hour, don't we, really, to chat just now, and we obviously got like a ton.
We got 20 minutes left, so it's good.
Yeah. we got a ton of questions sent through, and we'll try and get through kind of as many of them as possible. And I think there was lots of people asking about like our careers kind of against each other, and maybe matches we've played and the first times we played against each other. Maybe we could just chat about that for a little bit.
Sure, of course.
I mean, do you remember much about when we first played? I would have been we were like 11.
Yes, I think we were 11. It was France. I think my memories from when we first met each other were probably significantly different from your memories.
I only remember the score. I don't remember.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You kicked my ass, man. You blew me off the court. I won a game or 2 games, I think.
Yeah.
Like 6-1, 6-love or something like this.
And it was on like one of those old school, like it was on a singles court, right? Like I remember like no doubles lines and stuff. But yeah, it was in France. But yeah, I don't remember loads about the match. But yeah, just
was that was my first international tournament ever. Was that your first, or you played pro?
It would have been one of the first ones. Yeah. It would have been. It's a great tournament that's still going just now in time.
Yes.
But, I lost. I ended up losing in the final of the tournament, and I had a match point, sudden death juice, drive volley to win, and I missed it and completely capitulated after I lost the match point. So
I think you're forgiven. And an 11-year-old drive volley, I think you were not really expected to make that one a winner.
Still hurts.
I still can't make it.
Exactly.
No, that was. I mean, huge respect for Tarbs and everyone involved in that organization of that tournament, because it's definitely one of the most famous under 12, junior tournaments in Europe and in the world. I mean, I know that Del Potro played it. Gasquet, Nadal played it. I mean, a whole bunch of guys. I mean, I think anyone who really wanted to compete, like in junior days internationally, has played that tournament. It's a really, really nice tournament.
Yeah, it is brilliant. They get great crowds, don't they, as well? Come to watch. It's nice, to get that, at such a young age is pretty cool.
Do you have the tape from any of your matches from Tarp or no?
I have seen them, but I don't have them on me. But I think my mum got a couple of them. But
Please, if you find a tape from our match, delete it. Thank you. I still have not. I would love to see it because I've seen actually. I think on Instagram, Nadal Gasquet.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah,
I've seen. Yeah, you see little clips of them sometimes on Instagram. Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of the mannerisms and stuff. Like even then was kind of
exactly. Both Rafa and Richard are. I mean, they're kind of like exactly the mannerism, the way they look, the way they play. It's copy paste. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I know. One of the questions that people were asking was what did we feel was the best match that we played against each other? It'd be interesting to know from your perspective and see if we have similar views on it, because obviously, I don't know, sometimes you feel like you're playing great when you're winning. Maybe not always like the matches that you lose.
Yeah. Well, the first couple of matches that come to my mind are the semi-finals of Australian Open in 2012.
Yeah.
The one that lasted 5 hours almost.
Yeah. That's the same match that I've got.
Yeah.
Written down. Yeah, it was like 7-5 in the fifth, and for me, for me that was, even though I lost, I think that was probably the best match we played. Probably.
I think you had a break point or something in fifth, like late in the fifth.
Yeah, it was a 5-ball. It was an unbelievable rally.
It was one of the regular rallies we had, like around 57 times.
Yeah. But I would say that was. Yeah, I would agree with that. What other one were you thinking?
I think I felt like I played well, although you beat me in Olympic Games in London on grass in Wimbledon 2012 in semis. It was 7-5, 7-5, I think. I still feel like we both played pretty well. I felt like the quality of the match was pretty good. You were just better in the decisive moments on both sets, but I felt like in terms of the quality of tennis, that was actually one of the matches that I felt like of course I was devastated when I lost because it was Olympic Games and everything, but I was happy with the way I played because I played well throughout the entire tournament, and then you ended up winning for the gold medal, and then you played. I mean, you played the whole tournament. You played fantastic. It was probably one of the best matches you ever played against Roger in the finals, right? I mean,
for me, the final for sure. It's interesting because my coach actually at the time, Danny Valverde, he had messaged me the other day because he'd seen some clips of that match in the Olympics on Instagram. And he said to me, like, it looked like it was a great match, and my memory of it was that it was like not that good. My memory was that the conditions were really difficult. It was pretty windy. But he said that wasn't the case and that it was good. But it's quite interesting sometimes, like how, I don't know.
That's how good you were. That was kind of an average match for you.
Yeah, at that time, But it's weird that sometimes, obviously, you come off the court and tennis players always talk a lot about how they felt like in the match, but actually it's not always the reality. What was going on. But
Did you? I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and we talked about this. Obviously, by the way, it's really. I'm really happy to have this kind of live and this kind of chat with you, because I don't feel like we've had many of these chats throughout the years. We did have, when we practiced with each other and we would chat and so forth, we always had a really good relationship. But I think because of the the rivalry and because of everything, we just couldn't be too close, I guess, and kind of share a lot of things. But it's interesting to kind of reflect and go back in time on how we have observed and how we have felt about certain matches. And I know that we are quite similar mentally in terms of being perfectionists and always like looking for an edge, always looking to improve. At times, not at times, like a lot of times, not really being satisfied, as you mentioned. Like after a match that was semis of Olympic Games, you won in straight sets. You were still not really kind of pleased with the quality of tennis. Many times it happens to me as well. So my question to you is: do you really think that psychologically it's a positive thing that you are not pleased with the way you played after winning, let's say, a big tournament or a big match like that, or you see it as something maybe less positive? How do you perceive that?
So I would say that it's really important, like even after a big win, to like be not to just be critical of yourself for the sake of it, but to, if there's something you felt on the court that could be better, to actually voice that with your team and the people that are working with you. Because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes in those moments things can get missed as well. Like everyone's so excited and elated and happy that you've actually won an event that you can sometimes miss the things that actually you could do better as well. But yeah, I think that at the same time, like it's something like looking back with the issues I've had the last couple of years, I do wish that I'd enjoyed those moments more, because when you see that maybe the end is coming, you realize like, shit, I should have enjoyed like the wins and the big matches, or even some of the ones that you lost as well that were great matches, to try and get some enjoyment out of them, because for sure we'll miss it when it's not there anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's important to be critical of yourself even in like good moments, but you need to try and enjoy the wins. I wish I'd done that a bit better, for sure.
Yeah, that's what they say. Like being kind of constructively, positively critical of yourself actually helps you find that extra motivation you need to kind of go out there on the court and constantly strive to improve your game, develop your game, keep on going regardless of the result, regardless of the, so to say, the end of the journey. It's the journey that matters more than the actual goal, right? When you reach the destination. And I really resonate with that kind of philosophy in tennis and also in life. But you're right. We both agree that the journey is more important than the destination. Destination is something that obviously determines a lot the journey and how it's going to go. And it obviously, I believe that setting up like clear short-term and long-term goals are very important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you mentioned something very, very important, I think, there, where you said, like, you wish that you have probably enjoyed more certain moments in your career. And I feel exactly the same. I think, because of the nature of our sport, because the season is so long, and because we're constantly in a high intensity focus in every aspect of our being, we just, it's hard to kind of like, sit down, be present, and be fully immersed in whatever experience that you are having at the moment.
But I think that the thing that's, like you said, because of the way our sport is, the thing that makes it hard is, let's say, for example, and I know you've won it a number of times, but like you win the tournament in Canada, in the Masters Series in Canada on Sunday, you don't have time in many ways to enjoy it, because immediately your mind is already straight on to the following week. And I don't know, if you go out partying that night and get hammered drunk, you're competing on Tuesday, Wednesday the following week, in Cincinnati, in another country, in another tournament, and it's I think because of the guys at the top of the game, you Novak and Rafa, like, I don't think people always appreciate how difficult that is to just go like from a Sunday final, traveling to another country, new conditions and everything, and you're straight into, there's a lot of pressure, as well on the guys at the top of the game to keep winning all of the time. So
yeah,
it's difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why maybe you don't always enjoy the wins as much as you would like, because you don't have the opportunity, because there's not a week in between. Sometimes you're going straight on to the next tournament.
you're absolutely right. There's a constant demand from you. Like, you gave a great example. I wanted to ask you, like, what was the hardest transition for you, and what is the hardest transition to you, in terms of, like, you mentioned Canada, Cincinnati, obviously. If you play Sunday there, you got to move to quite different conditions. Actually, I don't know if you feel the same, but the ball bounce in a day match in Cincinnati is like playing on clay. Somewhere where it's super warm in say Madrid or whatever. I always struggled with a very high bounce there during the day. So, what were the transitions from a tournament to tournament in a very short period of time for you that you found the hardest?
Anything that involved clay was difficult for me. And actually, I find for me the hardest transition is going from indoors to outdoors.
Yeah,
I find that really hard. So, like, I don't know. So even sometimes playing a match in Australia, for example, at the US Open, like with the roof closed, and then the following day going out to practice. Without a roof, with it open, I find difficult. And like that period, like of indoor tournaments, sometimes if I played indoors post Australia for a little while and then going outdoors, more sometimes than the surfaces. Obviously, going from Madrid to Rome and stuff with the altitude back to sea level is tough. But yeah, I've always found indoors to outdoors the hardest. Going from outdoors to indoors, no problem, but indoors to outdoors, tricky.
What was the most challenging transition that you had to do? Like, for example, I remember one year I played finals of US Open. I think it was 2013, against Rafa. Played like four tough sets, and then I had to play on Friday the Davis Cup semifinals in Belgrade, Serbia, indoor clay, against it was Canada, I think. So, like, I remember the next day I was flying. I had a night flight, and I arrived in Serbia eventually like Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I played Friday at like noon.
Yeah.
Already in completely different conditions. But I remember the next day after the finals that like finished, I think around 10, 11 p.m. I practiced outdoors on clay, and it was okay because it was still outdoor to outdoor. Yes, different surface. But then when I arrived in Serbia, I had one practice session literally on Thursday of 2 hours indoors, and I remember it was very challenging. I mean, to say at least. Did you have any particular similar situations like that?
I tried. It was actually the year, so it was 2012 after the Olympics. I won the Olympics on Sunday, and then I probably stupidly decided to try and play in Canada. I can't remember if I played on the Tuesday or Wednesday on hard courts, and after playing on the grass, which is obviously pretty forgiving on the body, to then trying to play on the hard courts with like 1 day preparation was a mistake, and I ended up playing my first round match, and I told my team I was exhausted, I felt terrible, and I ended up pulling out. But that was for me, that was probably a tricky one.
Yeah, I remember seeing you because I lost to you in Olympics in London in semis, and I played. Well, actually, I played for third place against Del Potro the same day you played finals. So I did travel as well to Canada.
Yeah.
So I think we might have traveled actually No, you traveled probably the next day because I left right that evening or the next day, and you stayed for the press and everything and celebrations. And then you came over, so you literally came like less than 24 hours before you played a match. I remember watching you play. It was it was painful for me watching.
Yeah, it was a mistake for sure.
Yeah, but I guess we learn from mistakes.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, like, if you could go back and change one result in your career, which one would you choose?
I think it would be related to Olympic Games. So maybe the match that I played against you in London,
Okay.
or Rafa in Beijing, 2008.
Was that in the semis?
Yeah, I lost semis like also very close. I was like, it was 3-0, 4-0. I had something like 15-30, 15-40 or something like that. And I lost like I think 6-4 or 7-5 in the third. I missed an overhead, very easy overhead, which is quite typical of me throughout my career.
I think I've seen that one a couple of times.
You've seen that? Let me tell you. U.S. Open Finals 2000 and when did you win against me in the finals? 2012. Set point, second set. Was one you were set up and set point, second set. I was at the net. You gave me one of your famous lobs that hit the satellite and came back. And
it was very windy that day, to be fair. So.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I feel better now, but it's still a lousy overhead miss. So I think I would go. I would say Olympic Games because I for sure. I was very fortunate to have the great success in my career and win all 4 slams, and an all Master Series. But I did win bronze in Beijing, but I was really feeling good about myself. For example, in 2016, in Brazil, in Rio.
Yeah.
And
you had a tough draw there, to be fair.
Del Potro that went on to play with you in the finals. It was a very tough match, 2 tie breaks, and I remember 2 days before the match, I was practicing and I was feeling great. I did lose third round of Wimbledon, so I had enough time to get ready. I won Canada, and I came to Rio full of confidence. It was probably, I had like 15 best months of my career behind me before Rio, and then I remember I was practicing for 2 hours on the center court singles, and then I went on with Serbian guys to practice for another like hour and a half doubles.
Yeah.
And I start to feel my wrist at the end of the doubles sets that we played.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's just, I'm tired, that's all, And it started to be more painful. And I don't want this to sound like an excuse, but that's because of that I lost to the Potro. It was absolutely not. I was enabled. I did get some injections, and I had to go out on the court and like try. But I felt really sad that I wasn't at my best, and I had a really tough draw. I felt like if I had maybe slightly better draw, that I could kind of work my way in the tournament. So probably, yes, I would, if I had a chance to turn back the time and maybe change the outcomes, would be probably Rio or London with you in 12.
Yeah, okay.
What about you?
It's a match against you. Which one do you think?
Well, it must be Australian Open.
No, actually, no.
Roland Garros?
Yeah.
Roland Garros, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If I could change one result, because I obviously I would have loved to have won the Australian Open or the French Open, but I think like as a challenge for me, because clay was such the tough surface for me throughout like my career, and just in terms of the way that I played like on clay, it was the hardest one for me to adapt to. That I think that would have been like for me, my biggest achievement, if I'd managed to win the French. Obviously, Australia's been pretty painful, thanks to you, over the years. But yeah, if I could change one, I'd take the French Open off you. And obviously for you, that was obviously for you to win. Well, that was the first time you won the French, right? So
yeah, that was the only time, exactly. Yeah. That was the only time, and then probably after the Olympics matches, I would probably, if I have the chance, to change the Wawrinka match the year before I played you in the finals. I won against Rafa in quarters. First time I beat him in French Open. And then I felt very good about myself coming into finals against Stan. That was obviously playing great.
And that year we played semis, right?
Yes, you remember we played like 2 days.
I was pissed, yeah, because I was starting to play well. I think, when did we get stopped? Was it the end of the third?
Exactly.
It was the end of the third set, and then I won the fourth set.
Exactly.
But yeah. I was starting to feel good at the end of the third set. Yeah, we got stopped for life, didn't we?
Exactly. Well, the conditions, I must say, they were more favorable for me the first day we played, because it was going like towards the end of the day. Yeah. It was a bit cold and like heavy clay. And I remember I was two sets up, and I think I might have had like a break point in the third or something like this.
At the beginning, yeah, like
and you turn it around and you won a third, and then next day it was sunny. Yeah. So it was quicker, so you felt better. Yeah, it was a close one. It was definitely a close one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fondest memory, or the biggest highlight I have of that year is not tennis related, is actually Stan's attire. I mean, you remember his shorts the year he won?
Yeah, they were horrific, weren't they?
My God, Stan, if you're watching this, I hope you burned those shorts.
No, they weren't good.
No, but I think he made a really cool joke out of it. Like, he made it like a symbol of his whole tournament and of his whole win. It's like a lucky charm.
Yeah. For sure. He just put a comment with the middle finger up.
Oh, there he is.
On the thing.
Stan the man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Well, anyway.
Right, I need to ask you this. We've got like 25 minutes. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you a question about the GOAT of tennis, because it's something that obviously, like I hear about it all of the time, like in the media. I think I would talk about it like with my friends and like other tennis players and stuff, that it's something that people are like, really really interested in. I just wanted to know what your take on it is, because I've got some thoughts on it, not necessarily about who the best is, but like how do you ever judge it? Like, what's important to you? Like, what is the most important record in the discussion? What would you say is the most important thing?
Very good question. I think it's combination of I guess slams, I guess the weeks at number one, and obviously the Masters, right? The 1,000 events. But I think we all agree.
What about head to head? What about
and the head to head? Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I think Grand Slams would probably stand out, but it's really hard to say. Even though I personally am very fortunate that I'm in the conversation, of course, and I'm honored. But at the same time, it's hard to really say greatest of all time, taking the amount of slams you won or tournaments you won or whatever, because I've said this to everybody. I've had this opinion since forever. I don't go into the conversation of comparing generations. I really can't.
I completely agree with that. But in reality, all three of the best players are playing in the same generation, and I think that's why it's so. Because I agree completely. I'm sure Borg would have been amazing in this era, and Rafa would have played amazing in, Connor's McEnroe time for sure. But the thing that is special about just now is that you have three guys that are playing at the same time, so you can compare them because you have. I wrote it down like that. You've played 55 times against Rafa, and you've played 50 times against Roger, and Novak and Roger and Rafa played 40 times. So you have that many matches between the best players in the biggest tournament. So you don't have to compare the generations. And I think that the best three players are playing just now. But
true.
It's so difficult to. Yeah, I guess it's difficult to judge it, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we don't know what everyone is going to finish on slam-wise and how many matches everyone will have played and won against each other and stuff. But I think also in this conversation, which is maybe different to other sports, is because we have the different surfaces, is that, to me right now, you have Rafa's record on clay, nobody competes with. Roger's currently record at Wimbledon is the best, and your record on hard courts is the best. So, because we have these different surfaces, it's kind of difficult. And when people ask me like, "What's your toughest match like that you would play like in your career? Who are the hardest guys to play against?" I'd be like, "Well, I feel like I'm competing against the best hardcourt player ever. I've competed against the best clay court player ever and the best grass court player ever. So, for me, currently, right now, it depends on the surface."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, I can't say much more than I already said, because obviously for me, it's hard to really talk about this, even though of course, I'm in the midst of it, and I do, speak with my team, with my friends about it, and it's interesting to hear how, there are people obviously that are close to me are biased, and they're obviously leaning towards me, and then of course people that support Roger, support Rafa, which is normal. But I think it's just. I think it's good for tennis that we have this kind of conversation, and that we all are competing at the same time, and it's really amazing. And I think we all are not really conscious of all these results, achievements, I would say the proportions or the depth of the conversation in the world of sport. I don't think we are conscious because we're still in the storm in a way, if you understand what I'm saying. It's like you're still competing. It's hard. I think only when I'm finished with my career that I can step back and observe things from more neutral standpoints where I can say, okay, this is my opinion about this, and that. But for now, what you have said, that you have like three guys that are dominating on three different surfaces, I think that is what I would agree 100%, and that's all that is right now. What the future brings, for our rivalries, for our sport in general, I don't know. Obviously, we are also not that young anymore. I mean, you have guys like Dominic Thiem and Tsitsipas and Zverev. These guys, I think they're maturing so quickly, and they're ready. I mean, they're ready to get the Grand Slam titles, and they're very close. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to slams,